OCD is not a disorder. It's not something you have to live with for the rest of your life. The reason I'm saying this is because I've had OCD. I've suffered with obsessive intrusive thoughts. I've suffered with compulsive behaviours, and I no longer suffer with that on a day-to-day basis. And I'm not saying this just because I am free from OCD, that's just the way it's going to be for you. But when you understand what OCD is, you can take a different approach to actually heal OCD. OCD is not a disorder. Even though it's called obsessive compulsive disorder, it doesn't mean that it's something you have to live with. OCD is a manifestation of emotional trauma, and it's coming out and being expressed through these feeling states, these reactive responses you have when you are stuck in a loop of OCD. So if I ask you to think about or feel, what is the emotional response you have when you experience an intrusive thought? Do you feel bad? Do you feel awful? Do you feel terrified? Do you feel disgust? Do you feel shame? And the list goes on and on and on. What do you feel? That feeling is the emotional trauma that's living in your body. This emotional trauma can be healed over time. It is possible to heal this. So when we break OCD down, we realize that, okay, this is not something that I just have. It's not something that I have to live with. It's actually caused from something. But not just about what's caused from, what is it showing up as today? What needs to be looked at today in order for me to get relief? So the emotional undertone that you're living with when you're experiencing this loop, this is the key to transformation of what OCD is. Because them emotional responses are emotional trauma that's in your body that keeps being expressed through the intrusive thoughts and through the compulsive behaviors. Because when you have them intrusive thoughts, you feel a certain way, you do something to ease that feeling inside, because that feeling is too big for you to understand, for you even to be with, because it's just activating the survival response within your nervous system. So you will go into the mind, you'll try to problem solve, you'll try to avoid, you'll try to look for reassurance, do all the things you want to do, you need to do, because it's a survival mechanism. This is beyond your logic, so don't take this like into yourself that I should be able to just stop, because this is automatically driving your behavior. Most people get stuck and take it on themselves, like, why can I not just stop doing the check, and why can I not just stop doing the reassurance, or whatever compulsive behavior they're in, and they take it on personally. They're not doing enough, or why can I not just stop it? Why can I? Maybe they're feeling really hard on themselves and putting themselves under a lot of pressure to try and change this. And the reason is that they're changing it from the outset. They're changing it from a behavior point of view. But that behavior is automatic. Yes, you can try and catch it and try and refrain sometimes, and maybe you do, and you resist, and it gives you some confidence in yourself, and that's brilliant. But I'm talking about overall, the root of all this. So if we're just reaching something from the behavior, that behavior will at days be so strong that we cannot resist, and I'm sure you can agree with that you'll just end up you'll say to yourself, I'm going to try to not do that behavior, but you'll just end up being in it before you realize it. You'll try so hard and you'll feel so much shame on yourself that you haven't been able to resist. But you've got to understand that this is not something you can willpower your way through. The behavior is driven from the subconscious emotional state, and it's driven from a survival emotional state. So when you're in a survival emotional state, you're not going to sit and wonder what to do. This automatic response is kicked in, and you're doing that thing you need to do in order to feel okay inside, because the survival mechanism is on. And in survival, it's not okay inside. So we need to do something in order to be okay. So don't take this personally to yourself that you've tried so hard to do, resist compulsions or exposure, but no matter how much you try, you seem to sometimes, many times, fall back into the loop, because you've got to understand that these behaviors are survival. They're beyond your logic, willpower. Take the pressure off yourself. Understand that this is illogical, this is emotion driven. And when you understand that, you can start feeling a bit more easy on yourself, taking the pressure off, as I said, of yourself, and knowing that this is actually a survival, and how can I actually learn to change that survival mechanism, not just learn it with the mind and understand it. I'm talking about really switching off that it's not dominantly on all the time. This is not like, we don't think our way through that, we don't try to analyze, that's not going to change it. You have to learn how to deeply within the body release, bring down the survival response over time, so that these emotional reactions start to become less emotional, less explosive within the body, less overwhelming. So they start coming down, so then they feel not as frightening, and therefore then you can tend to releasing some of this repressed emotion that's been held in the body for years. And when you start to release this over time, then you have space within your body to hold space for these emotional responses. These emotional responses are imprints that have been held within the body from a young age, or from certain events, experiences. We don't need to go in to figure it out, because we don't need to. Whatever's showing up in the body today is the reality of what actually is happening inside ourselves. What does that look like? Is that the behaviours of all types of OCD, regardless of the theme, is that it's just a manifestation of these emotional traumas inside ourselves, and it's trying to just be expressed outwardly. So myself used to be terrified to sit with these feelings because they were terrifying. I felt shame, guilt, I felt like an awful person. So it was too much for me to even understand what this is. I just wanted to get rid of the thoughts. Therefore, if I get rid of the thoughts, I'll no longer feel these feelings. So I spent my time and years, etc., trying to get rid of the thoughts, doing all the things that hopefully would get rid of the thoughts, doing exposure, all the stuff. And I'd be in a loop then, could be stuck in it for days, in the shame, in the guilt, in the fear, in the anxiety, over and over and over and over again. So many people, and maybe you included, think that when I get rid of these thoughts that you deem as awful, then I won't feel awful. But actually, when you change that internal feeling inside yourself of fear, of shame, guilt, therefore that will start to ease, and therefore the thoughts will no longer be intrusive, because you've changed the emotional response within yourself. Them emotional imprints, them emotional traumas you're holding, them emotions you feel are starting to be healed over time. Therefore the thoughts can come and go, but they no longer have that impact, they no longer have that emotional overload, that emotional response within your body. Yeah, it would be uncomfortable, but there won't be still that absolute helpless fear state, anxiety, and all the emotions that go along with that, specific for you and what you're going through. So I can tell you to save yourself years of trying to figure this out, years of just going around in loops, that stop trying to fix or look at and change in thoughts and go directly to the emotional reactions. They need to be healed within yourself over time. They actually are signals that your body's alerting you that you keep running away from, which is natural, because them emotions are too big to feel and they're survival responses. So that's why you keep disconnecting and doing all the behaviors in order to feel okay. So this is the guide that I offer people within a 6-month program, a self-study program. You can do this along with the therapy that you're currently doing, or if you're not doing therapy, you can still do this on its own. And it's going to guide you week by week into a practice and many practices that's going to step by step building on each other, that's going to help you first to regulate the nervous system, bring it out of that chronic state of survival. When it's coming out of that gradually, this is why the program is 6 months. This isn't a overnight thing. 6 months and longer you're going to be doing this. This is not something that, OCD is not just one thing. It affects every area of your life. These emotions of feeling bad and shame and all anxiety, they show up in other areas of your life. It's just when it comes to these things, they're more heightened. So this isn't about, I'm just going to look at OCD. This is actually about healing this, that's going to affect every area of your life. How you feel inside yourself, how you start to feel okay in your body. And as I said, the 6-month course is step by step, breaking down into the regulating of the nervous system over time, releasing repressed emotion over time, and learning how to regulate your emotions in the moment. Because what happens is people do different practices, and while great, but what do we do in the moment when we're stuck in having fear and feeling anxiety in our bodies? What do we do then? We're not going to just go and be able to do a breath exercise or do something. We need to have something in the moment, but we're still doing our practices every day that's going to change that emotional response over time. But when it does flare up, that we know how to be with these emotions, that we learn how to regulate our emotional world on a day-to-day, moment-to-moment basis. It is a journey. It's a journey of self-discovery. It's a journey into yourself and actually understanding why you behave, but what's actually driving all of these emotional states. What emotions are you holding in yourself that you actually need to look at and heal within you? So that's the 6-month course. It's in depth, in detail, and it guides you step by step. So if you want to really change this for good, learn this, that you'll never feel disempowered. You'll learn about yourself. You will learn how to heal yourself through your specific breathwork practice. There's different types of modalities that's going to change this from the inside out, where you stop looking at something outside yourself to constantly feel okay. This is for you. Click the link in the bio. You can book a call and we can have a chat to see if this is something suitable for you at this moment in your life. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you again soon.